Every parent wants to raise a good child, but wanting it and actually doing it, biblically, are not always the same thing. Many well-meaning Christian parents are unknowingly raising their children in ways Scripture explicitly warns against, not out of malice, but out of tradition, fear, or simply not knowing another way. Parenting is one of the few assignments in Scripture God takes personally. Proverbs 22:6 says, "Start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it." That verse is not a guarantee, it's a responsibility. And how you carry out that responsibility matters more than most parents realize. Ephesians 6:4 gives a direct instruction to fathers specifically, but it applies to every parent. Do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. Notice the warning built right into that verse. It is possible to raise a child in a way that exasperates rather than nurtures, even while believing you're doing exactly what God asked. Today, I want to walk through 6 mistakes the Bible warns parents against, mistakes that are common, often unintentional, and quietly shape a child far more than most parents ever expect. 1. Never discipline out of anger instead of love. There is a real difference between correcting a child and unloading frustration onto them. Discipline rooted in anger teaches fear. Discipline rooted in love teaches wisdom. They can look almost identical from the outside, but a child can always tell the difference in how it feels. I once watched a father discipline his son the same way, in 2 completely different moods, within the same week. The first time, calm and clear, the boy walked away understanding what he did wrong. The second time, the father was exhausted and irritated, and the exact same correction left the boy in tears, not from conviction, but from fear. Ephesians 6:4 warns directly against exasperating children. Colossians 3:21 adds, "Fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged." Discipline that flows from anger doesn't correct a child's heart, it wounds it. And children carry those wounds far longer than parents realize. 2. Never withhold correction out of fear of conflict. On the opposite end, some parents avoid discipline altogether, mistaking permissiveness for kindness. They want to be liked more than they want to be obeyed, and the child senses that trade immediately. Proverbs 13:24 is blunt about this. "Whoever spares the rod hates their children, but the one who loves their children is careful to discipline them." This verse isn't promoting harshness. It's confronting the idea that avoiding correction is somehow more loving. It isn't. It's often more comfortable for the parent, at the direct expense of the child's character. A child raised without boundaries doesn't feel free. Eventually, they feel unanchored, because no one showed them where the edges were. 3. Never raise a child on rules without relationship. Some homes are heavy on instruction and light on connection. Rules are enforced, expectations are clear, but warmth, conversation, and genuine relationship are quietly missing from the picture. Deuteronomy 6:6-7 doesn't just say to teach children God's commandments. It says to talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road. That's relational language, not just instructional language. It describes ongoing conversation woven through daily life, not a rulebook handed down from a distance. A child who only experiences their parents as enforcers, never as companions, often grows up knowing what to do without ever understanding why it matters, and rules without relationship rarely survive adolescence intact. 4. Never let performance become more important than the heart. Some Christian parents unintentionally raise children to perform faith rather than actually possess it, memorizing verses to be praised, behaving well to avoid punishment, attending church to keep peace, all without any real internal transformation ever being addressed. 1 Samuel 16-7 records God telling Samuel, "People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." If a parent only manages a child's outward behavior while ignoring what's happening in their heart, they may raise a child who looks obedient on the surface while growing increasingly hollow underneath. 5. Never compare your child to others especially in front of them. Few things damage a child's sense of identity faster than being consistently measured against a sibling, a cousin, or another child at church. It teaches them, without ever saying it directly, that love and approval are conditional on outperforming someone else. Galatians 6:4-5 instructs believers to test their own actions, rather than compare themselves to others. And this applies to how we shape our children too. Each child carries their own calling, their own pace, their own design. Constant comparison doesn't motivate growth. It plants insecurity that can take decades to uproot. 6. Never model a faith you don't actually live. Children are remarkably perceptive. They notice the gap between what a parent says on Sunday and how that same parent behaves on Tuesday. A home where faith is spoken about constantly but rarely demonstrated consistently teaches children that faith is performance, not reality. Deuteronomy 6:6 begins with a crucial phrase, before any instruction to children is even mentioned. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. The instruction to parents starts with their own hearts first. You cannot pass on authentically what you have not genuinely received yourself. None of these 6 mistakes are meant to condemn any parent. Every parent fails at some of these. Some of the time that is simply the reality of raising children as imperfect people. The goal here isn't guilt, it's awareness, because a parent who can see these patterns clearly is far better positioned to gently correct course than one who never noticed them at all. Raising a child biblically was never about perfection. It was always about direction, a home consistently pointing toward God, even through the mistakes, even through the corrections, even through the ordinary, imperfect days. If this spoke to you, share it with another parent who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to Jesus Truth Animated so we can keep growing in truth together. And in the comments, tell me which of these 6 mistakes did you recognize in your own parenting?